How do you become the man that women want? Matt Cook here. I have 700,000 subscribers for my newsletter. I've been coaching tens of thousands of men over 25 years, including congressmen, famous musicians, famous sports figures, you name it. And one of the keys to this whole experience that I've had over many, many years is a simple thing that really can help you if you want to meet a woman and have the kind of relationship with a kind of deep connection, the romantic connection, to be a team, to be watching each other's back, and to be attracted to each other now, next year, and decades to come. So I used to be somebody that always thought that the world was going to end. I was always reading what I would call doom porn. I was reading stuff about, all of the dire things that are happening in the world. I was a student of the fact that we were going to have the dollar is going to crash. We were going to all have to be on gold or silver. There was also a period where I went through where there were some people on the internet that have this this idea of and it's not all outlandish, by the way, the sun shooting out these emissions, that coronal discharges that can cause floods and loss of everything electronic, like just immediately gets fried, and we're living back in the Stone Age. I mean, all these things and more, they're very plausible. And if you look back at thousands of years of history, we have catastrophe that happens routinely in history. For example, there's a period after one of the great ice ages, maybe 25,000 years ago, where maybe 80-90% of the people on this earth just disappeared for the catastrophe that was going on at that point. So, and we don't have to go that long ago for those kinds of things to be evident. So the world as itself lends itself to great pessimism. Now, I have been a great fan of Dr. Julian Simon over the years. He was a professor at the University of Maryland. And he used to be very, very depressed. He was so depressed. He couldn't bear life, really. He talks about it in his book, Good Mood. And one day, this is an analytical mind, one day he starts realizing that what depression is and what pessimism is basically looking at reality and comparing it to some imaginary ideal. And of course, it falls short. If you compare reality with an imaginary ideal, it's incredibly far apart. Where we're living, this world is so far from the heaven that we maintain in our minds, consciously or unconsciously, this ideal of what things should be. And he said, so basically, depression is a result of, and he expressed it as a fraction, the numerator or the denominator, where things are really compared to where we think they should be. And if we think they should be, way better than they are now, we're going to be depressed. Well, he said that he cured his depression by realizing this. And he would make a certain bet that really made his optimism pay off. You may recall that there was a famous doomsayer, right? And he would make a bet every year or every few years with Julian Simon. He would make a bet. And the bet would be, I'll bet you that things are going to get much worse. And Julian Simon said, I'll bet you things would become much better, right? So they had this bet, and they decided on how to measure it. It's known as the Simon-Ehrlich wager. Started in 1980. And they would determine like the price of commodities or some measure of who was right and who was wrong. So basically, though, Paul Ehrlich, who had written a book called The Population Bomb, he was a great pessimist, just as so many are. Paul Ehrlich was betting on the world going to heck in a handbasket. Julian Simon was saying, no, it's going to get better and better. Every single time that they got together to figure out who was right, guess who won? Julian Simon won. His optimism paid off in this bet, and I wasn't trying to make any money on it. The point is that it paid for him to be optimistic. Now, this is a story that you don't hear very much, but when I was little, I remember everybody, like their dads, would go, oh, the world is just going to heck. There's this terrible president, and it was Kennedy or was Nixon or whoever it was. It was terrible. Everything was terrible. Everything was terrible, going to get worse, catastrophe. Everyone was talking like this, and they still do. That was how I grew up, and that's how people talk then, and that's how people talk today. But actually, one day, maybe 10, 12 years ago, I realized that I had this belief that the world was going to end soon, and that this belief was causing me to invest poorly, and to invest in myself poorly, and also interfere with my relationship with my wife and my family. And I realized that I had this belief that things weren't going to end soon somehow, that it was going to be a catastrophe, and I would always be in this, what I call doom porn. And basically, it was keeping me from making long-term investments in anything. It was keeping me from making investments that were long-term because I didn't think there was a long-term. Now, since I realized this, I changed my belief. Just like Julian Simon changed his belief and he was no longer depressed, I was no longer worried about having no future. I began to be a person that was always thinking very, very long-term. So, for example, I believe, and I'm going to live to age 120. I'm about halfway there. I'm going to make it. I just decided that. I'm going to be super optimistic. It pays to be optimistic. Now, when you're meeting a woman, the quality that is most important, honestly, most important to a woman is a guy that doesn't freak out about things. Women freak out about things because they're emotional, more emotional than men are, more outwardly emotional. And so women want a guy in a relationship who doesn't get freaked out. That's what they want. They want a guy that is like, they call like the rock. The guy that's unflappable, that's calm, that doesn't freak out about anything. So she's thinking, you know, maybe there's a sound downstairs. You're in bed and it's the middle of the night. And she wants you to go look and see, well, what's there and deal with it, right? She doesn't want you freaking out. She just wants you calmly getting your weapon of choice and going downstairs and dealing with whatever it is. She knows there'll be business reversals. There'll be times when you lose your income, for example. She doesn't want you freaking out. She wants you to be a competent man. Now, if you're completely into this doom porn, if you're reading all these bad stories about the world ending, and just remember something, the people that write those stories, they're getting paid to write those stories. They're getting paid to talk gloom and doom. They get paid by the click. So all those people, and we probably know who they are. There's some of them are gold bugs. Some of them are just, there's just all sorts, and there's all sorts of websites for them. They are getting paid to talk doom constantly. And one day I realized that this was preventing me from being the kind of person that a woman wants because I was immersed in all this doom and gloom. It was making me feel depressed and emotional and not believing there was a future. It made me not desirable as a man. So I went on a diet. Every time I was going to go to one of these gloom and doom porn sites, I went to a novel that I was reading. I went on my Kindle, started reading more books. Or I would read long articles about useful articles. I do a lot of health research. I spend hours every day researching health, so I would just go do some more research. And I found that I had this like weight lifted from me. I've shown this idea to many men. See, it's like you substitute looking at the doom porn. Instead, you look at some other positive, helpful things or enjoyable things like reading a novel. And your brain begins rewiring, and you become a person that's less emotional, more upbeat, more happy, a guy that doesn't freak out. You become more attractive to women. Now, when you talk to a girl, you have a lightness about you that is very, very attractive. You don't have the heaviness that most everybody has. So it's better for you and better for the relationship. That's my idea here. Now, I'm going to leave you with one proof that I'm right. Okay, now remember, I told you I'm going to live to 120. This is a study, basically, that was done showing that for people that are optimistic, and I already showed you, you can become optimistic even if you're not. Okay, realizing what it is, like loving reality as it is, not trying to expect things to be very different than they are. That's what Julian Simon learned. And avoiding all the doom porn out there and just focusing on good things. Whenever you're going to look at doom porn, you look at positive, helpful things. That will lighten you up and lighten the load and make you more optimistic. Start planning for the long term. Optimism is related, our results suggest, to 11 to 15% longer lifespan on average, and to greater odds of achieving exceptional longevity. Now, I have studied people that are 100, 110, 115, 120 years old, and they're all optimistic people. They're not pessimists. They're optimistic. A lot of them believe in a higher spiritual being. That's not necessary, but a lot of them do. They're social. They're upbeat. They're fun to be around. They make jokes. This is all you have to do. You just transform yourself by getting rid of the diet of what you're taking in and replacing it with a diet of fun, upbeat, interesting things. And it will lighten your load, your brain rewires, and you become an optimistic, happy person that women want to be with. And the key when you're with a woman that you haven't met maybe, or maybe when you have, is women have a very developed part of their brain for scent, maybe almost twice as many brain cells dedicated to scent. So as men, we look at a woman and we're interested in her based on how she looks. A woman gets close to a man and she picks up his scent and she wants that man based on his scent. There's even this MHC, this major tissue histocompatibility complex. There's people that are compatible with each other based on scent and all of that. Scent is super important. So what we did, our sponsors, we actually put together a scent that produces confidence in a man, and it is a scent that women just love on a man, just can't get enough of on a man. So it gives a man more confidence, and women are more attracted to the man because they love that scent. And it's what we call an attraction clone. You can't get anything like this in a department store. This contains genuine animalic accords, civet, castoreum, ambergris, deer musk, because these and other accords are shown to produce more confidence and be a scent that women just can't get enough of on a man, and none of these are available even for $1,000 from any other colognes. So the company will give you a bottle. They'll just send you a full trial bottle, but it's not a sample. It's a full-sized trial bottle. All you have to do is help them out with shipping. The rest of it is very simple. You keep it, you love it, you spray it. Just see the adoration and the attention you get around you, the confidence that you have. And then they'll go ahead and apply your card that you used to cover the cost of the cologne. If you don't somehow can't keep it for some reason, just let them know, either on their website or on the phone. They don't give you a hard time. They will let you send it back, and they'll pay for the return postage. And they don't charge you for that. All you have, we're out the shipping. That's how it works. And now, they couldn't do that. They'd go broke if it wasn't fantastic. And I'm telling you, it is fantastic. Matt Cook here. I hope that you have this incredible connection, romance, such as I've had in my life for over 40 years. I hope that you have it. I've helped tens of thousands of men in every way, improving their health. And the one thing that over all else is being the guy that doesn't freak out, the guy that's optimistic, the guy that has a lightness about him. That is what is so attractive. And it is so wonderful to be that man. And I think that you can do it. Let me know how it goes. We'll see you on the next video.